Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. In the first part of this video, I went over the 2028 potential ramifications of this Echelon Insights poll. Today's video is going to be focusing on the current, on 2025, and President Trump's administration and what the polls are saying for this. Starting on this page, it asks, is the United States heading in the right direction or wrong direction? 51% say wrong track, 40% say right direction, unsure is 9%. There are a lot of issues here that have a first choice and second choice ranking as well. The cost of living is the top combined choice at 43% for most important issues facing the country today. We have immigration at second at 29%, political corruption third at 23%, jobs in the economy fourth at 23%, the state of democracy fifth at 17%, abortion sixth, national security seventh, healthcare eighth, and so forth down the line. It also does rank the first choices. Cost of living is the high of the first choice. Immigration is second, political corruption third, jobs and economy fourth, state of democracy fifth, abortion at 4% is sixth. And then with second choice, cost of living 19, immigration 14, political corruption 10, the economy and jobs 11, state of democracy 7, abortion 4, and so forth. This question 14 here is an interesting one. It looks at, do you have a favorable or unfavorable view of this person or group? Mark Cuban, 39-26, favorable to unfavorable. The U.S. Aid Department, 39-28, favorable to unfavorable. Justin Trudeau, favorable 36, unfavorable 26. Claudia Sheinbaum, she is the president of Mexico, 17-8, favorable, unfavorable. A lot of people either have some favorable or no opinion in these polls, and never heard of for Sheinbaum is very, very high at 53%. DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, has a 39% favorability, 33% unfavorable. Stephen A. Smith, 20% favorable, 15% unfavorable. He's been making some rumors he may be running for president. Marco Rubio is 35% favorable, 32% unfavorable, with 12% never heard of or 21% no opinion. J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, 45% favorable, 41% unfavorable. We have Benjamin Netanyahu, 31-28, favorable, unfavorable. Nayib Bukele, 9-8, favorable, unfavorable. The Republican Party overall has a 48% favorability to 46% unfavorable rating. Donald Trump, of course, the President of the United States, has an approval rating or favorability rating of 49% favorable, 48% unfavorable. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, 27-26, favorable to unfavorable. Javier Milei of Argentina, 8% favorable to unfavorable. 64% of the poll never heard of him. Kamala Harris, the former VP, has a 45% favorability rating, 50% unfavorable rating, so negative. I believe she's the first one we've seen on this poll to be negative so far. The Democratic Party, even worse, is 44% favorable, 50% unfavorable. And Elon Musk, the lowest of all the poll at -7, 43% favorable, 50% unfavorable. As do you approve of or disapprove of the job Donald Trump is handling, the job as president? 52% strongly or somewhat approve of the job President Trump is doing. 46% strongly or somewhat disapprove of the job President Trump is doing. Strongly approve at 34, somewhat 18, somewhat disapprove 38% strongly disapprove, and 2% unsure. On question 16, do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling the economy? 49% strongly or somewhat approve, and 45% strongly or somewhat disapprove on the economy. Now going into question 17, where do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling immigration? 55% strongly or somewhat approve, 43% strongly or somewhat disapprove. Trump doing much stronger, even though Trump was doing strong on the economy, Trump doing much stronger on immigration, overall net approved of by 12 points. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Trump is handling foreign policy? 49% say approve, 44% say disapprove. Trump is net +5 when it comes to foreign policy. And as I mentioned, Trump is net +12 for immigration. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling cuts to the federal government agencies like U.S. aid? Trump here is actually underwater by 2%. Strongly or somewhat approve, 45%. Strongly or somewhat disapprove is 47%. So Trump is -2 when it comes to how he is handling the cuts to federal government agencies. Do you approve or disapprove of the way Donald Trump is handling tariffs? Trump has 44% approve, 49% disapprove, for -5%, or -5 net percent. Interesting how Trump's approval of the economy is positive, but the view of Trump using tariffs is not. That's interesting because those two pretty much go hand in hand with how Trump talks about the issues. That's very interesting. Do you approve or disapprove of Elon Musk's current role in the federal government? 40% approve, 51% disapprove, with 23% strongly approving, 43% strongly disapproving. Very high numbers on that end there. On to the next page now. Question 22. Compare with his first term. Do you think Donald Trump's second term so far has been organized? 45%, chaotic? 46%, 9% are unsure. So very even split here among the respondents in the poll believe that Trump's second term is organized or chaotic. Now we're going to go on to page 8. Do you think the current economic situation in the United States is improving, getting worse, or staying about the same? Improving a lot / a little is 35%. Getting a lot worse is about 45%. Improving a lot, 12.24. Staying the same, about 16%. Getting a lot worse or getting a little worse, 17 and 28%. So about 16% say it's about the same, 35% getting better, 45% getting worse. Do you think your personal economic situation is improving, getting worse, or staying about the same? 26% say improving, 35% say getting worse, and staying about the same, around 35%. So that's essentially tied with getting worse. Which of the following comes closest to describing your personal financial situation? 39% say able to pay for basic necessities and have some money left over to save and invest on non-essential things if I want. 34% say I'm just able to pay for basic necessities. 26% say I struggle to pay. 2% say unsure. That is page 8. Now on to page 9. Do you support or oppose deporting all illegal immigrants currently living in the United States? Strongly or somewhat support is at 55%. Strongly or somewhat oppose is at 39%, including 32% of strong support and 20% of strongly oppose. Not too long ago, when President Trump was first running in 2016, this issue was actually unpopular with a lot of Americans at the time, where deporting all illegal immigrants was not viewed very favorably. Now, at the beginning of Trump's second term, 55% of Americans approve of Trump's policy on that, while 39% disapprove. Would you oppose a constitutional amendment ending birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to illegal immigrants? 36% strongly or somewhat support this. 54% strongly or somewhat oppose. Again, would you support or oppose a constitutional amendment to end birthright citizenship? 36% support it, 54% disapprove it or oppose it. On to the next page here. How much have you seen, read, or heard about the following recent news and events? And it gives a list of all of these here. This is going to take a while to read, so I'm just going to show these all here on the screen. If you'd like to pause it and read the numbers, you certainly can. On the next page here, once again, support and oppose each of the following. It goes into more specific details about some of the policies. Again, if you'd like to read them, you can read them here. You can pause the video and check those out. On to page 12. Do you support Donald Trump's proposed 25% tariffs on goods coming from Canada and Mexico and 10% tariffs on goods coming from China? Do you support or oppose this idea? 41% of respondents say they strongly or somewhat support, 50% strongly or somewhat oppose. Do you support or oppose Donald Trump's tariff proposals on as a negotiating tool to gain concessions from other countries on issues like immigration and fentanyl crossing the border? So when the question is framed as just tariffs, the overall rating is -9 for Trump. When tariffs are used as a negotiation ploy, Trump is actually strongly approved of here. 53% support, 38% strongly or somewhat oppose, and about 9% are unsure. So it's a very interesting dynamic for Trump here. It seems that according to the poll, more Americans prefer when Trump uses tariffs as a negotiating tool, whereas when it's an actual policy, more Americans do not support it. So that's very interesting, and there's interesting strategy there. Which of the following statements do you agree with more, even if neither is exactly right? Donald Trump is primarily pursuing tariffs as a negotiating tool to gain concessions from other countries. 60% of respondents believe that is the case. Donald Trump is primarily using tariffs because he thinks they are good. 29%. Unsure, around 11%. So a clear majority of people believe Trump is using tariffs just as a negotiating tool to gain concessions from other countries, which again plays into the ratings Trump has of 53-38 on that negotiating tactic issue. And then it goes into some countries where the poll asks if you support the United States imposing tariffs on the following countries. China 51-39 support, Mexico 43-47 oppose, the European Union 36-49 oppose, Canada 36-53 oppose. On question 34, would you be willing to pay higher prices if it meant more manufacturing jobs in the U.S.? 39% say yes. Making essential items in the U.S. instead of importing them to overseas? 37% say yes. Higher wages for workers without a college degree? 30% say yes. Protecting supply chains from global disruptions? 21% say yes. Something else say 1%. I would not be willing to pay higher prices, period. End of story. 31%. And 5% are unsure. On page 14 now, do you agree or disagree with the following statement that Elon Musk is right to try and fix broken Washington, D.C. bureaucracies that waste hundreds of billions of dollars and spend taxpayer money on radical ideologies most Americans don't agree with? 50% of respondents strongly or somewhat agree with this statement, 42% strongly or somewhat disagree with this statement, including 31% strongly agreeing, 34% strongly disagreeing, 7% are unsure. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Elon Musk is wrong to dismantle vital aid programs and other agencies when he wasn't elected and has no expertise in the government. 57% strongly agree with this statement, 34% strongly or somewhat disagree, 43% strongly agree, 24% strongly disagree, and unsure is about 9%. Which of the following statements about Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency do you agree with more, even if neither is exactly correct? Elon Musk is wrong to dismantle vital aid programs and other government agencies when he hasn't been elected, at 50%. Elon Musk is right to try and fix broken Washington, D.C. and bureaucracies that wasted hundreds of billions of dollars and spent taxpayer money on radical ideologies most Americans don't agree with, 44%, unsure, 7%. So overall, it's a negative 6 points. The statement about Elon Musk is wrong to do this has a 6-point advantage according to the poll. It should be worth mentioning as well, the poll's margin of error is approximately 4% as well. Forgot if I mentioned that earlier in this part of the video. Question 38, which of these do you think is the biggest problem with the Democratic Party today? If you don't think any of these are a problem, just say so. Democrats are disorganized and divided, 15% say that. Weak on border security and illegal immigration, 14% say that. Out of touch with the working class, 13%. Too focused on race and gender issues, 11%. The party of socialism or government control of the economy, 10%. Hostile to the traditional family and people of faith, 6%. Weak on national security, 6%. The party of welfare benefits for people who don't work, 5%. None of these are a problem, 12%. Unsure, 8%. Which of these do you think is the biggest problem with the Republican Party today? If you don't think any of these are a problem, just say so. The party of Donald Trump, 21% say that is a problem. The party of the rich and big corporations is 12%. The party of racism and white nationalism, 11%. Closed-minded and intolerant of different lifestyles, 8%. Disorganized and divided, 8%. The party of sexism and restricting abortion rights, 4%. Anti-immigrant, 3%. The party of conspiracy theories, 2%. None of these are a problem, 22%. And unsure is 9%. So the none of these are a problem numbers are 10% higher on the Republican side at 22 than the Democratic side, which is 12. During the election, the Trump campaign released an ad with the tagline, "Kamala is for they, them, Trump is for you." Which of these, if any, comes to your mind when you see this tagline? Choose all that apply. Kamala is for transgender people, 46%. Kamala is for illegal immigrants, 28%. Kamala Harris is not for everyday working Americans, 26%. Kamala Harris is for aid to foreign countries, 18%. Kamala Harris is for people breaking the law, 15%. Something else, please specify, 4%. and 24% I didn't think of any of these, 5% are unsure. By far the overall plurality is the 46% for transgender people. On to page 16 here. We're getting close to the ending of this poll. Which of the following statements do you agree with more, even if neither is exactly correct? Businesses should be able to operate however they like as long as they do not break the law. 44% approve of that statement. Businesses should be held accountable if they are too focused on being, quote, woke. 49% agree, and unsure is 6%. Which of the following statements do you agree with more, even if neither is exactly correct? Americans are better off when the United States is seen as a strong leader around the world, 54%. Americans are better off when the United States focuses on its own interests at home and lets the rest of the world take, 41%, and unsure is 4%. These questions, I believe, were all conducted by the Republican-aligned voters in this poll. Which of the following statements do you agree with more? Everyone benefits and prices go down when workers come into the United States from all around the world. 28% agree with that of Republican respondents. American citizens lose employment opportunities when foreign workers are allowed to come to the United States. 61% of Republicans agree with that statement. 10% are unsure. I don't mind when private companies want to be environmentally friendly or reduce their carbon emissions. 60% of Republicans agree with that decision. Private companies shouldn't be trying to do their own Green New Deal or profit off of climate alarmism, 28%, and unsure is 12%. Which of the following statements do you agree with more, even if neither is correct? Issues like abortion and religious liberty are the biggest social challenges we face today. 32% of respondents selected that one. Issues like radical gender and racial ideologies from the left are the biggest social challenges we face today. 52% of Republicans chose that answer. 16% said unsure. Page 17 now. Which of the following statements do you agree with more, even if neither is exactly correct? When balancing the budget, cuts to any and all programs should be considered, 28%. So no matter what, cuts to Social Security and Medicare should not be considered when balancing the federal budget. 68% of respondents selected that one, again showing the importance of Social Security and Medicare when it comes to discussing the budgets. A overwhelming majority support that, 5% unsure. Which of the following statements do you agree with more, even if neither is exactly correct? Again, this is also all Republican. There should be an amendment to the Constitution and legislation making laws allowing abortion unconstitutional. 21% of respondents agreed with that statement. States should be free to make laws restricting or permitting abortion. 67% agree with that. 12% are unsure. The Republican Party should be a party of working people, ensuring the working class can keep more of what they earn. 69% agree with that statement. The Republican Party should be a party of entrepreneurs and job creators, encouraging economic growth and low taxes. 23% agree with that. 8% are unsure. It is preferable to have bigger government providing more services. 25% of the respondents agree with that statement. It is preferable to have a smaller government providing fewer resources. 64% agree with that, and 11% were unsure. Now we are on to the next page, where it says, for the following list of sites or apps, please indicate which you have used in the past week. Instagram, 54% have used, 46% have not used. X, formerly Twitter, 33% have used in the last week, 67% have not. Facebook, 84% have used, 16% have not. TikTok, 38% have used, 62% have not. Reddit, 32, 68 for yes to no. YouTube, 80% yes, no, 20%. Snapchat, 24% yes, 76% no. Question 51. How often, if you ever, do you post or share things about political or social issues on social media? Often / sometimes, 38%. Rarely or never, 62%. Often is 12%, sometimes 26%. Rarely 28%, never 34%. Which, if any of the following, do you listen to, read, or watch to stay informed about current affairs and political news? Check all that apply. Local TV news, 48%. Social media, 41%. Fox News, 38%. NBC News, 32%. ABC News, 32%. CNN, 30%. CBS News, 29%. Your local paper, online or in print, 20%. Traditional newspapers, online and print, such as the New York Times, Washington Post, and Wall Street Journal, 18%. MSNBC 17%, public radio or broadcast news like NPR, PBS 17, podcasts such as The Daily Wire, Pod Save America or The Ben Shapiro Show 15%, Newsmax 9%, OAN 2%, something else 7, none of these 5. 19%, or on the 19 page, how often do you come across information about politics or news on each of the following platforms? X, formerly known as Twitter, once a week or more, 80%. TikTok, 78%. Facebook, 77%. Instagram, 68%. Reddit, 66%. YouTube, 65%. And Snapchat, 54%. So it seems like Twitter and X has a lot more information about political news and such on X than a lot more than, say, Snapchat does, which certainly makes sense. What is your current employment status? 38% of the poll is employed full-time, employed part-time 10%, freelance 2%, gig economy 1%, unemployed looking for work 8%, stay-at-home parent caregiver 6%, full-time student 2%, retired 28%, something else 4%, prefer not to say 1%. Which of the following comes closest to describing the kind of work you do? White collar, like work at a desk or in an office, 56%. Blue collar, like work with my hands or in a factory. Service worker, like work in a store, hospital, or restaurant, 3% are unsure. Has anyone in your household ever served in the United States military? 9% said yes, I have. 15% said yes, a member of my household has. 77% have said no. On to the final few pages here. Question 57. Are you or is anyone in your household a member of a labor union? Yes, 7% I am. 5% yes. 5 a member of the household. 89% no. Do you or anyone in your household own a firearm? 22% yes. Yes, I do. 17% yes, a member of my household does. 64% no. How would you describe the areas in which you live? 29% say city. 45% say suburb near a city. 10% say rural or a town not near a city, and 16% say rural or country area. How long have you lived in the state you currently live? 1 year or less, 1%, 2 years, 2%, 3 years, 3%, 4 years, 3%, 5 years or more, 91%. Where were you born? In the United States, 96%, in a foreign country, 3%, prefer not to say 1%. Current marital status, single, never married, 31%, married, 48%, separated, 3, divorced, 13, widowed, 6, prefer not to say, not enough data there. 21%. What is your present religion, if any? Protestant, for example, Baptist, Methodist, non-denominational, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Pentecostal, or Episcopalian, 27%. Just Christian, 20%. Roman Catholic, 19%. Agnostic, 6%. Atheist, 5%. Jewish, 2%. Muslim, 1%. Mormon, 1%. Buddhist, 1%. Hindu, not or under 1%. Orthodox, under 1%. Something else, 3%. Nothing in particular, 14%. Would you describe yourself as a born-again or evangelical Christian or not? Yes, 40% say born-again or evangelical. 56% say no, not born-again, evangelical. 4% unsure. How often do you currently attend a religious service? 24% say at least once a week. Once or twice a month, 11%. A few times a year, 15%. Usually just for religious holidays, 10%. 37% say never. 3% say they prefer not to say. Final 2 pages of the poll here. Are you at least 18 years old and registered to vote? 100% of the polls say yes. Do you or does anyone in your household work in any of the following industries? Healthcare, 7%, or pharmaceuticals, 7%. Food service or the restaurant industry, 5%. Technology, 5%. Sales, 4%. Journalism, market research, public relations, none. And none of these, 82%. Do you describe yourself as a man, woman, or in some other way? Woman, 54%, man, 46%, some other way, none or non-applicable or less than 1%. What is your race, ethnicity? Select multiple if needed. White, 76, black or African American, 13, Hispanic, Latino, 11, Asian, 5, Native American or Alaskan, 1, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander, less than 1, other race or ethnicity, 1%. What is the highest level of education you have completed? 29% say high school or less. Some college, 19%. Associate's degree, 11%. Bachelor's degree, 25%. Graduate degree, 15%. Prefer not to say less than 1. What is your age? 18 to 34%, 21%. 35-49, 23%, 50-64, 28%, 65+ 29%. In what state do you live? States in the Northeast, 17%. States in the Midwest, 22%. States in the South, 38%. And states in the West, 23%. Regardless of how you typically vote, would you say you consider yourself to be very or somewhat conservative, 39%, very or somewhat liberal, 29%, moderate, around 30%? Which range includes your total annual household income from all sources? Less than 30,000 per year, 21%, 30,000 to 49, or about 50,000, 21%, about 50,000 to 75,000, 17%, 75,000 to 100,000, 9%, 100,000 to 125,000, 6%, 125,000, 150,000, 10%, 150 to 200,000, about 8%, 200 to 250,000, 3%, 250,000 or more, 3%, prefer not to say 1%. Are you the parent or guardian of one or more children under the age of 18? 72% say no, 28% say yes, less than 1% prefer not to say. The February 2025 Echelon Insights Verified Voter Omnibus was fielded online between February 10th and 13th, 2025, in English among a sample of 1,010 voters in the likely electorate nationwide using non-probability sampling. The margin of error, sampling error, was 3.6% of this poll. So that was a lot of information in the poll. Certainly, if you have any comments or questions below or anything of note, certainly feel free to leave a comment below. I'll do my best to answer any questions that you have. This art obviously showed a lot of intriguing insights into how a lot of Americans right now are feeling about the current political situation, President Trump's administration, Elon Musk, and DOGE, and a lot of things happening right now. So feel free to leave a comment and your thoughts about everything around here in this poll if you would like. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember that I post a new video every single day, so remember to keep coming back for those. If you watch all the way through the end of the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time in doing so. And again, please remember to like and subscribe. All right, thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in a future video.